Welcome to Monday Night Live, and this time we're on a Friday. Drop in the comments, say hello, let me know where you're tuning in from. I wanted to hop on this week and do a live Q&A session, which means that it's interactive. So let me know if you're on the call and where you're tuning in from, which city you're in. I know there's about a 30-second delay, but I want to see who's here. My goal today is to answer all your questions about LinkedIn. Now, I've made this specifically for advisors. So anybody that's in the finance space, accountants, wealth managers, investment funds, investment banks, accountants, mortgage brokers, insurance agents, financial services, anyone doing capital raising. This is ideal for you. I mean, if you're in professional services, there's no doubt you're going to get value from this. But just drop in the chat. I want to make sure that you guys can, first of all, that you can hear me okay, and that you guys are out there. I know a lot of you are tuning in on YouTube. I've been pushing the YouTube link out quite a bit because it's easier to watch on a TV and so on. But just get your phone out and drop in the chat, say hello. I have got some information specifically for advisors that I want to run through with you. The biggest problem that I see when I look at financial advisors' LinkedIn profile is they are all investing. Well, the bigger companies are investing a lot of money in this space, and rightfully so. Obviously, LinkedIn is the best place to build trust. It's a professional audience, a high income bracket. But I think that, focusing on the wrong things can get you in a lot of trouble. A lot of people are focusing on the number of followers and growing that amount, assuming that they're growing their audience. One thing that you need to understand about social media is you do not own your audience. LinkedIn does. So the numbers that you're growing, whether or not you're actually able to reach those people just because they've given them some intent that they're interested in following along with your content, is going to come down to a number of things, not just them following you. And look, if LinkedIn decides tomorrow to limit your reach, there's nothing you can do about it. On Facebook, this happened. One of my friends that I've interviewed on LinkedIn Heroes, Jules Lund, he used to be a TV host, and he's got a company called Tribe, which is the biggest influencer platform in Australia, could be even the world, but mainly for Instagram and so on. And, he had the most engaged Facebook page in the entire country in Australia when he was doing his radio show with Fifi Box, I believe she's called. A most engaged Facebook page. They put a lot of time and effort into it. There's some great content on there. And one day they woke up and posted, and their post couldn't reach all their followers, just like that. And that's when Jules woke up and goes, "Oh, do you know what? I never owned this audience." And now if they want to reach them, they've got to pay just like everybody else. So LinkedIn's going to follow suit. It's only a matter of time. In fact, I'm surprised it's gone on this long. The organic reach seems to be pretty good. Now, if you look at the statistics, overall, organic reach on LinkedIn is down. However, there's always these nuances that you need to understand. And that is, first of all, more people are on the platform, more people are posting, so you're competing with more people when you post. Some of the best creators I know are growing their numbers on LinkedIn. They're growing because you've got to understand that most people are doing everything wrong. There's a right way to do LinkedIn and there's a wrong way to do LinkedIn. So today we're going to talk about the right way. And I just want you to know that 5% is a pretty that's pretty positive in terms of an estimation of the number of people are doing it right. It's probably more like 1%. So all you've got to do is be better than 99% of the pack. Because if you're running away from, what's the saying? If you're running away from a lion, you don't have to be the fastest person, but you've got to be faster than the slowest person, right? Similar situation on LinkedIn. There was actually a protest in Bondi Beach for climate change. And what happened is all these protesters went down to Bondi Beach and they stuck their head in the sand. There's this photograph that was in the newspapers. This must have been about 7 or 8 years ago now, of all these people on Bondi Beach with their head in the sand. And I thought that's exactly what the social media landscape looks like right now, because when people don't understand something, they just think, oh, it's too hard, I'm not going to bother with it, and they move on. I'm not seeing any chats come through. I don't know if that's because there's no chat or because we've got some technical dramas. Please let me know that you can hear me all right and that everything is working well. I need to know that people are tuning in. Where is everyone? Can't see any comments come through on here. I can see some people on YouTube. There we go. Okay. All right. Maybe the comments are just taking a while to come through. I'll keep going. I know your time is precious. I'm going to give you a lot of value today. I'm spending an hour with you. Ask your questions in the chat. If they're not showing up in the chat, send me a DM. I'm going to open my DMs right now. I don't know why on earth the chat's not working. I've never had this happen before. But I'm going to open my DMs and I will answer any questions that come through on LinkedIn in my private messages. All right. Now, 8 out of 10 financial advisors say that they've generated leads on LinkedIn. When it comes to the ideal clients, if you're targeting institutions, obviously they're on LinkedIn. If you're targeting high net worth individuals, the people on LinkedIn have got a much higher income bracket. It's over $100,000 US. 4 out of 5 members of LinkedIn are key decision makers in organizations. So if you're in B2B, you're going to be influencing all the decision makers. What's actually happening with that, by the way, is there's more decision makers involved in every decision than ever before. So, you might be targeting one particular job title. What you actually want to do is think, who else influences this decision, right? Now, I've raised $1 million on LinkedIn within a month for a client. I know of a startup that raised 24 million in 3 months on LinkedIn. And there's the Morgan Stanley did something like 193 million raise on there. I hear about these startups all the time that couldn't get any traction elsewhere and then went on LinkedIn and automatically got a result. Let me tell you about my experience. So a startup came to me, they did electric bikes, and they said, Nathaniel, we're looking to raise $1 million in 30 days. And I thought, you must be crazy, right? From cold leads, people you don't know. Anyway, we set up the campaign on LinkedIn. We target people that are investors. They normally if they're active investors, they will have the keyword investor in their profile. And depending on how much of that life that is, they'll probably have investor in their headline. They'll be members of investment groups like angel investment, real estate investment, that kind of thing. Over the years, I've actually built up a database of well over 15,000 investors. So you can access them really easy on LinkedIn. Now, investors, their challenge is finding good opportunities. So they want good opportunities. The problem is they get so many opportunities come through that, that they can't look at them all. And most of them are rubbish. So they want good ones. The great thing about doing it via LinkedIn is when you approach them, there's mutual connections. The same people that they do. If your profile is set up correctly and well optimized and stands out from the crowd, then what they're going to do is reply to you and say, yeah, let me take a look. Because A, you're approaching them in a different way, and B, they've looked at your profile. So you imagine if you were to email this opportunity to them, right? First of all, when you email somebody, if you click on their name, you're not going to be able to read their profile, right? You could go to their website if you wanted to, but it's a lot less personalized than if you went to their individual page. Who do people want to meet up with when they're doing investment opportunities, when they're doing in business? Do they want to meet up with a company, or do they want to meet up with a person? Now, obviously, you can't meet up with a company, but imagine if there was a company AI robot. Would you rather meet with that dude or with an individual? People have a preference to connect with other humans, and that's why personal profiles always do much better than company pages on LinkedIn. And so the fact that they click on your name and then they read your profile, that click, just one click, makes a lot of difference. Why? Because that click means they've asked for the information. You haven't pushed it on them. So when we're approaching investors, we're not there saying, hey, this is the opportunity. This is my experience. This is how great we are. This is what this organization had to say about it. It's not a Shark Tank pitch, right? This is social media. We're actually saying, hey, I noticed you're involved in investments. We know a number of the same people. I've got an idea I'd like to run past you. Where's the best place to send it? Imagine for a second that you're an investor. Maybe you are an investor. What are you going to do? You're going to click on his name and read his profile. You're going, who is this guy? question people are asking when you send them an invitation is, are you trying to take something from me, or are you trying to give me something? Can I get value from this person, or is he trying to extract value from me? So as soon as you start saying, this is my opportunity but you look like somebody that wants something, therefore you're likely to be somebody that's going to take something. Unless you're like really credible, that's not going to work very well. You might get 10%, 15% conversion rate when you send an invitation. However, if you show interest in them, everyone that I've ever experienced a communication with on LinkedIn is interested in one thing that's common, one thing in common. They're interested in talking about themselves. So you tick that box because you show interest in them, right? You're not going to assume that they're interested in your investment opportunity. So you're not going to start telling them about it until you found out whether or not they have an interest, they have a problem you can solve, or they have a need, right? I can't see any DMs come through either. So it might just be a last minute thing, a low audience. Hopefully some people tune on live. I guess a lot of people know that these are recorded now. This is a bit of a weird time for us to do it, but I'm going to keep going because I know a lot of you are watching the recording. So when you're approaching them, your conversion rate should be around 30% if you're just sending an invite. I find that with investments, you can get much higher than that if your profile is really well optimized. Now, these are the components that you want to look at when you're building out your profile. The first place that people are ever going to look is your profile photograph. All these things that I'm about to share with you might seem a little bit counterintuitive because I'm actually thinking about the subconscious mind. I'm thinking about the psychology behind the way people make decisions. You might think that, logic and having the most experience and having the best system is going to sell the product for you. It's not true at all. Not unless people already trust you. That's not the way it works. So what you want to do is build credibility through subtle cues. And your profile headshot's important. You want a professional photograph in high quality, super high quality. There are lots of instances where I've had a professional headshot done and I said, mate, this isn't high enough quality. Oh, but I just thought you were using it for the internet, so I exported this size. It needs to be really high quality. It's very important because that's how you're showing your professionalism. The quality of your headshot reflects the quality of your brand. The first thing people see when they're in the feed is going to be your headshot and what else? Your headline. They're going to see the start of your headline, right? It's the first 45 characters or something. So it's very important what you've got in there. What a lot of people have in there, they're business development manager, operations manager. You want to put in there something that either shows authority or shows people what you do. So you do that via, let's say, for example, you're reaching out to CEOs who have investor in their profile. It's worthwhile if you are a CEO, putting CEO in your headline because they're going to think you're on the same level with them. They don't want to waste time with junior staff members. Now, if you're not a CEO, that's cool, but you could put in something that is more descriptive about what you do, and it could be about the opportunity that you're about to present. But you don't want to just have some job title in there at the start of the headline. I wouldn't make the headline too long these days. If you asked me 7 or 8 years ago how to write a headline, I would be like, jam keywords in there, get up to the top. Problem is, everybody's doing that now. If you haven't noticed, there's a LinkedIn trainer on every corner. Some of the best ones I've trained years ago. It's not uncommon for companies that are doing email marketing or SEO or even business coaches who are struggling, and they come along to a LinkedIn training session and they think I'm going to do LinkedIn as well. So they're everywhere. How do I stand out from all those guys? I could say I've done it the longest, but is that really going to make a difference? No. What's going to make the difference is the psychological cues and also the quality of the content. It's got to speak for itself, right? And so the psychological cues are things like images. Your headshot's very important. They've done a lot of research around this. People don't realize, but since babies, we have been trained to connect with human eyes, right? So in your headshot, make sure your eyes are visible. They've done a lot of research on this, and it's shown to build trust and get attention. So if your profile photo is down to your waist up, it's not close enough. Imagine looking at it on a mobile. They're not going to be able to connect with your eyes. You want to have some of, if not all of your shoulders and your head. So again, research shows that if you show, your neck and a bit of your shoulders, that helps build trust as well. You want to be smiling, but not laughing. There's a balance of likability, credibility, and just attractiveness when it comes to these photographs. The biggest trend, as you would know, on the internet right now is AI. So people will see some AI tool that can write content for you on LinkedIn, and you know what? They do a pretty good job. Here's the problem, though. Every day, more and more people are discovering these tools. Every day, more and more tools are coming out. Every day, more and more tools are getting better. I'm going to tell you a hack right now to get way more exposure on LinkedIn, and this will only increase as the next couple of years go by. And I don't know how many of you are on here because this doesn't seem to be working, but whoever's here, you're about to get some really important value right now. Okay. This is a hack. You'll notice in my posts sometimes, I've got Nico Stewart in the house. Thanks, mate, for sending me a DM. Hey, you'll notice in my posts sometimes I don't use correct grammar. Why do you think that is? Do you think that I'm doing that on purpose or as an accident? I'm showing people that this is an AI just by doing that. And all I have to do is take, like, AI puts loads of commas in. If you're going to use AI, take the commas out. Maybe start one sentence with a lowercase letter so it looks like it's not AI. People don't want to connect with AI content because why? Why would you? If you think it's not the person, but the person behind the post is not actually the person that you're looking to connect with, why on earth would you engage with their content? What are you going to do? Have a conversation with a robot? I think there's value in AI agents, and I'm creating one at the moment. But they've got to be authentic. You've got to tell people that it's an AI agent. And at the moment, you can't create profiles on LinkedIn for AI agents. That will change. I can see it already. In 10 years' time, there is going to be an AI LinkedIn, like an AI social media tool for business people. Because why wouldn't there? Think about it. If a lot of your staff members are going to be AI agents, why wouldn't they have their experience and a bit about, how they've been trained on a profile on social media? Why wouldn't they? Makes perfect sense. People will see the start of your headline. They'll see your photograph in the feed when you send a message. When they click on your name to read your profile, what's the first thing they're going to look at? It's going to be the background image, because the visuals just attract the eyes. You can't help it. So you imagine if you haven't done this properly, right? And you've got a business development manager or account manager in your headline, your photographs, like, you can't see your eyes. Then they land on your profile and there's no background image. Or if there is a background image, it's just like a picture of, something completely irrelevant with no value proposition. What's that doing? You're not influencing anyone in a positive way at that stage of the customer journey. You may be the most credible provider in the world. You may be on CNBC, Squawk Box, speaking about investments, but in this context, these people aren't watching Bloomberg. They're on the internet and they're doing a search and they find your name and they read your profile, and you're not doing anything to influence them. And most of you guys in the finance industry, and this goes for the big companies too, you're not doing your brands justice on LinkedIn. You're not. I know how credible some of you companies are. And when I look at your LinkedIn, I think, geez, look, they've got 700,000 followers. Why are they only getting 20 likes a post? And why are all the likes from people within their organization? Something is wrong. You're measuring the wrong things. Where's the return on investment? Well, you might say, oh, I don't care about return on investment. We're a big company. We care about branding. Return on investment is a sign that you're providing value. Because if you provide enough value, people are going to want to reciprocate that value. So it should be generating return on investment if you're doing it well. A lot of people will say, even with smaller businesses will say, oh, LinkedIn works great for me. I get like 20, 30 conversations a month from it. I had 10 coffees this month with people from LinkedIn. Yesterday, I spoke to a guy for an hour from LinkedIn. Yeah, what's the return on investment, right? Because you could have coffees all day long, and I'm not saying it's the wrong people. It could be the right people, could be the wrong people. But if you're providing value through LinkedIn, it will turn into a return on investment. And the people that are best at this don't even have to have coffees with people, don't even have to chat to people. The content is so valuable that people will hunt them down to do business with them. And they're not speaking to their competition. Why? Because they trust them. They actually feel like they know them if their content's personalized, right? So the thing with the financial services industry And why I love working in this space so much is because we can have such a big impact, because it's all about trust in your industry. It's all about whether or not they trust you. Getting attention is not difficult, especially if you've got money to spend on it. But even if you don't, people can learn how to get attention through content pretty quickly. There's been enough viral pieces of content throughout the years that there's a formula. If you want to go viral, it's quite straightforward. You just get a bunch of people that are going to be, you write a piece of content that's going to be relatable to the most amount of people. You can write education, you can write information, you can write entertainment, you could even write inspiration. What is going to be most likely to be relevant to the more amount of people is it's entertainment. Everyone has the need to be entertained. So you could post some viral meme, you could pick it up real quick and post it on LinkedIn and go viral. There are guys I know on LinkedIn with hundreds of thousands of followers, if not up to 1 million now, who literally go to Facebook, find the most viral videos, download them, and then upload them onto LinkedIn, and they go viral. Now, is that guy earning return on investment from LinkedIn? No, he's not. I know he's not, because it's the wrong audience. The last thing you want is a huge audience that's not in your target market. It's the last thing you want. So it's about being targeted, it's about building trust, and it's about communicating that. Now, I've got a 3-step strategy that I'll share with you on how you can land clients. This is how I raised $1 million in a month. This is how the other company I mentioned raised 24 million in 3 months. This is how you generate business on LinkedIn. 3 steps: find, connect, engage. Find, connect, engage. I'll repeat it. Find. It might sound really simple, right? You want to find the right people. How do you do that? You have to use LinkedIn's advanced search features. So you go to the top of LinkedIn where the search box is, hit enter. Then you'll get people, groups, events, things that you can narrow down by. You want to click people. Then you will see a button that says filters. This is where you can tell LinkedIn exactly what keywords you want in which parts of their profile. Let's say you're in Sydney. Your location, Sydney. Let's target Sydney to start with. Why not? We're here in person. We can meet with them. More chance they've heard of us. Okay. Then you go to headline and type the keyword angel investor or investor or director, and then you go to industry and write venture capital. So you're using the company, the industry, job title. If you have Sales Navigator, you will also want to use company size, the size of employees, size of team members. If you're using Sales Navigator, you can actually narrow down by who's posted recently as well. Like I think it's the last 90 days. You do that as well to narrow it down. If you don't get enough people in the search results, it means you haven't got enough relevant first-degree connections. If you've got 100 people in the search results, connect with those 100. Next time you do the search, you'll have thousands of people. Why? Because the search results is showing you your second-degree network, mainly. You might get some of your third-degree network in there, but it's always going to be mutual connections that show up first, people with mutual connections. So the biggest way to grow your audience on LinkedIn, the biggest way to get more attention with your ideal client is to connect with more people. Who do you want to connect with? Who don't you want to connect with? Well, you want to connect with anyone that's in your target market or anyone that's likely to be connected with people in your target market. So people in complementary industries, influencers in the space, even your competitors. That's right, even your competitors. Wow. But surely, Nathaniel, I don't want to add my competitors. Why not? They've got the ideal audience, right? But wouldn't they be able to see my audience? Yeah, they will be able to. There's a couple of things you can do to mitigate that, though. One is you can go to privacy settings and you turn where it says my profile is visible to everyone. Just turn that off, and then it will only show it'll only show mutual connections. All of a sudden, now your second-degree network is protected and your competitors isn't. Now, if they post something, right? Let's say I connect with a LinkedIn marketing agency in Australia and they post something. Let's say they've regurgitated my content. They've got a post about 3 steps to LinkedIn lead generation. What do I do? Do I scroll past it and go, oh, these guys copy me losers? Or do I comment some angry thing? No. This is great. This is a good opportunity, right? So they've got the post. Ideal, you would imagine they would have some people in the right target market in their audience, given what they do. So if I drop a comment under that post and I'm thoughtful about it, and it's first of all respectful to the competitor, like I'm not suggesting you bad mouth them at all. I mean, there are some people that would do that. Grant Cardone, not mentioning any names, to raise controversy. But I would actually write, do you know what? That's exactly what I tell my clients. And these days, there's actually one more step I add, and I would add something else of value. And I might talk about the power of commenting on other people's posts, given that's what I'm doing. Now, what will happen is that comment will mean that the competitor's post will be shown in the newsfeed of my audience, and my comment will also be shown in the newsfeed of his audience. Whether or not it's at the top depends, on engagement and how good it is, how big their audience is. But how powerful is that? You're getting an extra exposure in the feed through a comment on a competitor's post by adding value, right? There's no point speaking down competitors. It's not a good look for you. Commenting is a really powerful thing. Now, if you're commenting on your ideal client's post, when you reach out to connect with them, your conversion rate will go from, if you're doing well, it'll go from 10 to 30% of people accepting your invitation to connect to 80 to 90%, if not 100%, because you've engaged on their content first, you've added value, you're familiar. You don't even have to write a custom message. You can just hit connect, because if they've just had a conversation with you, they're going to accept. I'll tell you something about the LinkedIn algorithm that very, very few experts know. I'm doing it because there's not many of you on the call. I just want to give you guys something super valuable. One of the biggest LinkedIn algorithm ingredients is the DMs, the private messages. Right? Nobody knows this. That's having conversations with people. What does that mean? So Lacey Saville, my gorgeous fiance, thank you for dropping a comment. It must be just a really quiet Friday afternoon. Everyone's down the pub. If you're watching the replay, drop in the comments as well, because I'm going to come back and have a chat to you guys. Hey, I have completely lost what I was talking about. So where was I? Oh, that's right. I was going to share the secret with. No, I don't think I should. Should I? Yeah, sure. So it's the DMs, private messages. Now, if I'm having a conversation with Lacey, private message on LinkedIn, do you think that affects my content? Well, you wouldn't think so, right? Because it's private, you're just having a conversation. But it's a signal to LinkedIn that Lacey's interested in what I have to say, and I'm interested in her, what she's got to say. Actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it like that. So next time Lacey logs into LinkedIn, there's a good chance she's going to see my latest post at the top of her newsfeed. My mum's here. This is getting a bit sad, and my mum and my partner are here. Hi, Garen Villani. How are you? Thanks for being here, mate. This is obviously a bad time to do lives. Oh, Amber's here as well. Now they're all coming through. Happy Friday to you too, Amber. So sending private messages. So if you're sending connection requests to investors or potential clients, they're accepting that connection request. Then you say, hey, thanks for connecting. Love your profile. Can't wait to learn more about you. And then they might even reply and say, nice to connect with you too. That's like 5 interactions, albeit privately. What you want to be doing is then posting, because they're going to see your content right away. You're actually moving people down the customer journey. You don't even realize it. People don't realize what role content plays in the customer journey. I mean, at a very high level, it caters for the awareness stage, right? So if you imagine a funnel, a customer journey looks a bit like this, right? So let's see if I can do this with a piece of paper. All right. So this is what a customer journey looks like, right? So it's a big funnel like this, big triangle, right? And at the top, you've got the awareness stage. This is where people are not aware that they need your services. They're not aware of you. They're not aware of your products. That's going to be the biggest portion of your audience, always, the awareness stage. Then, as you move down this triangle, you've got the consideration stage. That's when they already know that they need to, let's say you are, let's say you're selling life insurance. They know that they need life insurance. They've had some kids or whatever. It's on their mind. They're problem aware. That's the consideration stage. There'll be less people in that stage as you get lower. Then there's the buying stage where people are like weighing up alternatives. Now, you want to make sure that when people get to that stage, and you might have sometimes it just happens, right? You connect with them in 2023, and then 2025, they're ready to take action. You want to make sure that they're familiar with you at this point. You want to make sure you're top of mind. You do that through content, right? You have to. When they read your content or they see your content or they see your name pop up, because they're at this stage of the customer journey, they're going to read your profile and website in more detail than they've ever read it before. That's where you put the proof, the case studies, the examples, the proof. It's all about social proof. It's all about trust when they get to that stage. People will buy from you if they like you and they trust you. It shouldn't be hard to get people to like you if you're adding value. If people don't like you, they're not going to stay in your audience. And so this is why I say marketers are so good at building attention, but not getting trust, because they get attention and then they lose the attention. So they constantly have to advertise to get new people into their sales funnels. What happens if you get attention and then you build trust? You don't lose the attention. That's how people build audiences. That's why if you connect with 500 people this month and connect with 500 people next month, by the end of the year, you're going to have like 7,000 people in your audience because you've held on to them. That look, even if you break their trust, they might stay a connection, but they're not engaging with your content anymore, which means they're not going to see it. Unless they're engaging with your content, they're not going to see it. Just because you got 10,000 followers doesn't mean 10,000 people see your post. That's not how it works. PJ, my man, hey dude, we need to chat. I'm coming over to Sydney. I'll DM you, brother. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate the support. So you've got to really think about that, and then people buy from you, and then everybody forgets about them at the bottom stage. Advocacy. This is where you get referrals. Do you know when the best time to ask for a referral is? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. When's the best time to ask for a referral? A lot of you are going to say when things are going well, when they tell you how happy they are, when they got a great result. That is a great time to ask for a referral, but it's not the best time. The best time to ask for a referral is when they just bought. Nobody does this. No one's asked for a referral after they've just bought. It's the best time to ask. Why not? These days, you don't even need to get them to give you a referral. When I used to sell real estate in Thailand, many, many years ago, I used to sell luxury villas in Phuket. And I'd sign them up. We'd have a reservation fee, which is about $4,000 or something. It secures their plot. And at the end of that, I would say, oh, and by the way, can you give me 3 names of your friends or colleagues or people that you know that may be interested in investing in a property in Phuket? And then go, oh, yeah, this guy might be interested. Yeah, let me see if I can help you. This guy, they're in that, they're in the right mind step, and they're giving you people's names and numbers and emails, and you can reach out to them and say, hey, so-and-so suggested that I reach out. We've got these amazing villas in Phuket. Do you want to have a chat? It would work. We got like every 3 sales, I would get 1 referral sale from it, right? So it worked. When I started using LinkedIn and I got my first financial advisor client, I wanted to target financial advisors because they have a business builder relationships, which is perfect for LinkedIn. To advertise on Google, it's so expensive because they're competing with all the banks. So I'm like, I'm going to ask this guy for 2 or 3 referrals. And then I thought, I don't need to ask him, because I can go connect with him on LinkedIn, look at all of his connections. I can see exactly who he's connected to. If his privacy settings are tuned up, I can only see mutual connections, which you guys will be doing, but not everyone does that. I'll be able to see all of his connections. And then I could write their names down. The ones that would be ideal clients. And next time I see him, I could say, hey, I noticed you're connected to these companies. I would love an introduction. Would you mind if I use your name, or would you mind sending an intro email, depending on your relationship? But you're telling him who you want, not the other way around. Now, take it one step further. Do you even need to have that meeting? Probably not. You could reach out to the investor and say, hey, I'm actually doing some work with one of our mutual connections. And I think this would be perfect for you. You can mention his name or not. If you don't mention his name, it creates curiosity. He will ask you who it is, and you can tell him. You don't need people to give you referrals anymore. You can take them. Now, when I was sharing this with a company that I'm doing some work with in Sydney, they said, well, what about our competitors? Should we connect with our competitors? I said, yes, absolutely. Oh, but doesn't that mean that they're going to be able to see all of our IP and see all of our connections? I mean, they'll see the mutual connections. They'll be able to see our content and copy it. Yes, they will. Do you know what? If you're not good enough at content, or you haven't got enough resources to be better than your competitors when they copy you, I mean, if you're worried about people seeing your content, you're never going to be successful, because the best content creators are the example that everyone looks at. So you want to be that. It's a sign of flattery. But you want to make sure that you're just smarter than them and you're moving, along quicker. If you connect with these guys that are your competitors, you can see their list of connections. So you could do the same thing and reach out depending on what industry you're in and how comfortable you are doing that. Do I do that? No, not really. There is an instance where I've done it. Let me share you with this story that you might find it interesting, because a lot of you guys will actually get this opportunity, especially in finance. So back in the day when I was selling all sorts of online marketing, there was a SEO company that did AdWords and SEO, and they charged quite a lot per client, and some big clients that went bust, right? And I knew the guy, and I knew the company was going under. And so I went on to LinkedIn and looked at the directors and the sales guys' profiles. I looked at all of their connections, wrote down the directors of the firms that that would be ideal clients for me. And I got in touch with them and said, hey, and I've heard what's happening with such and such company. I just want you to know that, if you're looking for somewhere to switch, I'd be happy to chat to you about it, because we offer similar services. And I've got loads of clients from it, loads of clients. Keep an eye on your industry. Look at what companies are struggling. Look at what companies are giving a bad service, because they're going to be easy to switch over. You just message them and say, hey, by the way, do you guys have a financial advisor? How's that going? How often are you in touch with them? Are you happy with the level of customer service? Might be a great opportunity, right? All right, so that's a bit about lead generation. It's a 3-step process: find, connect, engage. You might be wondering, what do you say in the third step, the engage step? So you found them, you've connected with them. Now, what do you do? Well, you don't want to leave it too long, right? Longer you leave it, the harder it is to get them to reply. And you want to, it's different. It's different now than it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I would tell you to write one message, and it would say, hey, thanks for connecting. I've had a look at your profile, see that you're in, investments. I am interested in finding out more about your investment criteria to see if there's an opportunity for us to do business together or not. Are you free for a chat? Now, I don't profess to be this important, but since we've been doing that, a lot of people have been copying that that script. It's been used a lot, so I don't do it anymore. We got to switch it up. It used to be a little bit like an email inbox, LinkedIn. What do I mean by that? Well, people used to structure it like an email, and you would say, hi, so-so, and at the end, you would always say, regards, da-da-da. They even had an option for you to put a signature in a LinkedIn message. Now, with LinkedIn chats popping up down the bottom of the screen, it's no longer an email inbox. It is a chat. It's a messenger. It's a WhatsApp. So treat it like that. Short, succinct messages. It's better off if your grammar is not perfect. You don't want long sentences. You want to write it like you're writing a text to somebody you know, and you are. I mean, that's what it is, right? So you can connect with them and say, oh, thanks for connecting. How's your week looking? How's business going? Start a conversation like that. You don't have to tell them who you are. They'll click on your name and read your profile. Hey, thanks for connecting. I see you're in the investment space. Are you looking for opportunities right now? No regards, none of that. You don't need it. Shorter it is, more concise it is, the better it'll do. sometimes I write these scripts, and I'm getting better at framing this before I have these conversations with clients. But sometimes I write these scripts, and they say, the message is, how's business going? That's how you're going to start the conversation. They're like, how much time did you spend on this? I said, well, it took me 45 minutes to come up with that. Sometimes, right? Because it's actually difficult to make it short and succinct. And all I'm doing is starting a conversation, which means that I'm going to need to reply, and it might be 4 or 5 messages before we get an appointment. Most effective way to do it, doesn't fail me. When I go after the big companies like Apple and Westpac, I don't have any room for error. Like I will do that, and I will have a conversation, and I will pull the conversation offline as soon as I can. So all you need to do is to get them to reply, show interest in what you do, and then get their permission to talk to them. So by them confirming that they'll do a phone call, that you've got that permission, you need to find out, if they're looking for investments, or if they're looking for an accountant, or they're frustrated with their accountant. You got to find out if they're problem aware, if they have a problem that you can solve. And then you go, would you like to have a chat about it? You got those 2 things. You got the problem from their mouth, not I've got to pause here, because a lot of people will go, no, I know he's got the problem. I don't need to ask him. Doesn't matter if he's got the problem. They need to know it, and they need to say it, because until they realize there's a problem, your solution is worth nothing. The value of your solution is directly proportional to the value of the problem of the person you're talking to. Think about that for a second. That's why when you read my content, and you read a lot of powerful content that does well out there, they talk about the problem first. They don't talk about a solution. Sometimes they talk about the problem 80% of their content, because the customer journey, again, the people at the top, if they knew what the solution was, they would have solved the problem. They know what the problem is. They don't know what the solution is, right? So when you're talking about investments, you might have the best returns, 50% per annum. You've got the best system for doing research. Don't talk about that. Talk about the problem that investors face with investment companies, other investment companies. Isn't it frustrating when they promise the world and deliver nothing? Are you sick of not knowing what your return on investment is? Have you ever wondered why there isn't more research in property, whatever it might be? Problem first. Talk about the problem. Because people always say, oh, how do I come up with more content ideas? You don't have to come up with more content ideas. You have to come up with different ways to say the same thing. Identify the client's problem and articulate it in a way that's better than they can. If you go to a doctor, right, and you might not know anything about the doctor, but if he defines your problem, if he asks you a few questions and then tells you what your problem is, oh, you feel like this, you've got your head's, does it hurt back here? Oh yeah, does that affect your sleep? If they accurately describe your problem to you better than you can describe it in your own words, you psychologically assume that they have the solution. Psychologically, you don't even need to explain that you have a solution. If you ever get on a sales call with somebody that's like really high value, like for example, if you got on a sales call with Tony Robbins, he charges $1 million a year for coaching. You catch up with him once, I think. $1 million. He's not spending those calls selling himself. He's just not. He's identifying the problem. He will ask questions, and then he will say the problem back to them in words that describe it better than they can. They assume he's got the solution, and they buy. That's how all the guys do it who charge $5,000 plus an hour. You define the problem. That's how you do it with content marketing. Now, you need a lot of content. Twice a week is the absolute bare minimum that you should be posting, because if you don't post more than that, LinkedIn will see you as inconsistent. Now you think about it. If LinkedIn's got 1,000 posts to choose between to show to one person, what post is it going to choose? Is it going to be the one that from the guy that doesn't post every week, posts every now and then? No, it's not. It's going to be from people that are consistent, because they've got a consistent audience. It's not just a one-off viral post, and they probably got more experience. So the fact that some of you are doing this sporadically when you're thinking about it is a big problem. It needs to be planned. You need to be focused. You can't be reactive. You need to be proactive, intentional with your content. Like any area in life that you want to make work, you need to have a plan. Posting twice a week is the absolute bare minimum. What I'm suggesting you do is create enough content so that you can post for the next 3 months twice a week without creating anything new. How do you do that? You can do that in an hour, right? All you do is you sit down and you either use a AI thing to do voice for text or video. Video is the best. Video is the best. It's the fastest growing thing on every platform. The mobile video feed on LinkedIn is absolutely amazing. They took it away last week, so some of you are going to drop in the chat and say that. It'll be back, trust me. It's the biggest trend in social media we've seen in the last 2 years. Look at TikTok, look at Instagram. The amount of attention that they're getting because people can scroll through mobile videos is huge. LinkedIn has no choice but to follow suit. What they're doing is they're testing different things at the moment so that they can find the best way to do it. Be ready. If they've stopped the mobile feed last week, doesn't mean that you're not going to get views. You'll get views. But the difference is, like, I was getting 10,000 views a video before the mobile feed came in. When the mobile feed came in, after posting consistently videos twice a week, in my 3rd week, I got pulled into the video feed. First video got 720,000 views in 24 hours. Next one got 2.1 million. So that's a 15,000% increase in the number of views. It's coming back. Be ready. Have a library of vertical videos ready to go and captions to go with them and a content calendar. Map it all out in advance. And then if you do want to post something on the spur of the moment, just do that as well. Add it to the 2 that are going out anyway. Post them Monday to Thursday. Fridays, as we can see on this call, and I really appreciate for everyone that's here, it's quiet on LinkedIn. It is. Monday to Thursday is where it's at. Busiest time of day is going to be the morning during commute time. 6 to 8 a.m. is the most popular time on LinkedIn when people are commuting to work. You have to think about the time zone of the audience that you're targeting. So when I think about, I'm in Perth at the moment, go to Melbourne and Sydney quite regularly. Those are my 2 biggest audiences, Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, and then it's the US, which is challenging because they're like nighttime when it's daytime. But I'm always thinking, like, what's the earliest I can make it in Perth? So that it's also early for Melbourne and Sydney, right? Because it's 3-hour time difference. The reason that you want to post in the morning, first of all, because there's the highest amount of people on there on the commute to work. The second highest time is on the commute home from work. But when you post your content in the morning, you've got all day where people are active on LinkedIn to get engagement. And when you're trying to get the most out of the algorithm, you want to get engagement fast. So, getting 3 comments in the first hour is worth a lot more than getting 5 comments in the first 5 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, it needs to be relatively quickly. So if you do it in the morning, you got 12 hours of non-stop engagement, people seeing your content. It's enough to give it a bit of a boost to show it to a wider audience. One of my first big interviews was with Dr. John DeMartini. I don't know if you know him, but somebody I'd looked up to for a long time. I was so excited to get the interview done. Got the edit back at like 9 p.m. one night. And I was so excited. I just posted it on LinkedIn. It went up at like 11 p.m. And the next morning I checked it. It didn't do very well at all. This was my biggest interview ever. It was a flop. And then I realized, my audience was all asleep. My audience was all asleep when I posted it. So I reformatted it, posted it again the next week on a Monday morning, and it did really well. I did it on Monday morning because I know then, there's not that gap over the weekend. So you got Monday all day to get engagement, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday it starts to slow down and die off. So have a think about the timing. It's very important. Okay, now with LinkedIn video, I have just released a course called LinkedIn Video Secrets. I am only going to take 5, maybe up to 10 people through the first round. The way that I create these courses is I basically map them out. I record all the training content, the worksheets, but I take people through it hands-on. So we're doing regular Q&As and all that sort of stuff. The first 3 times that I do it, I'm going to lose money. I know that. I'm going to invest more time in it. But the idea is, by doing that process, then you learn it, what's most valuable, where the opportunities are, where the systems are. So, and because it's what early days, like it's not as good as it's going to be in a year. So you guys are going to get a massive discount if you want to get involved in that. It's currently listed on the website for $1,000. I'm going to do it for $500 for the first 10 guys that jump on. It is invitation only for the beta test. I don't want to be dealing with dickheads. I should have said that, because now you're going to get offended if I say no. But sorry, we're full. So online video secret, LinkedIn video secrets. You're going to learn everything from post-production to how to get confident on camera, whether you should use scripts. If you do use scripts, like what should they say? What should your hooks be? How should you should create your content? It is the most valuable thing that I could offer at the moment. I think video is the biggest opportunity for the next 6 to 12 months. There's a lot of people going to go crazy and go viral, and it's going to be a long time, I think, after this before there's going to be any big updates or big changes on LinkedIn and social media. It's all AI now. Biggest hack is just going to be standing out from the crowd by making your content look like it's not AI, even if it is. I mean, I still use ChatGPT every day, don't get me wrong, but I got systems in place to make it seem human. And I'm not saying that everything I do is the best way to do it, but this is all I do all day long. And a lot of evenings, my partner will tell you, most evenings, I'm focused on one thing, and that's LinkedIn marketing. You guys, if you're in finance or in accounting, you've got a lot of things to focus on. And, I would hire you guys for your expertise. This is the one thing I've been doing for 11, 12 years. So I'm pretty close to the ground on it. So if you want some help, hit me up. Great opportunity to get involved in the course at a discount rate. And thanks for being here, guys. For those of you that were here, anyone watching the recording, please do get active in the comments. I'm going to come back and check on this again in a couple of days. But it's not far off beer o'clock for me either. So have a good day, guys. And thanks very much for being here. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you next week.